Hey guys, what's going on? It's the Phoenix Gunner here, and welcome to a brand new series that I'm going to be doing on this channel. I call it Playing the Objective, and the reason I'm doing this series is because I'd like to think that new players who come into playing COD don't want to be kill whores like a load of the other players playing COD. Like, as a player, I genuinely believe that winning is far more important than any sort of kills or deaths that you can get. So this series is going to tell you how, in different game types, some that I don't even play, how to get the win and how to make sure your team wins. So without further ado, let's get started into episode 1, Domination. Now, obviously, as you can tell, the episodes are going to be a different game type every time, and episode 1's Domination. So with Domination, I always feel it's vitally important to, if you can flank, but either way, just get to the B flag as soon as possible and try and capture it as soon as possible. Now, right here I run into some trouble and get kind of screwed over, but that just proves my point that I'm not actually a very good player. So the main thing I try and do here with Domination is to try and get to choke points and try and get to lines of sight where I can see people and get the flag. So I realise my teammates have just captured B, so obviously it's better in Domination to double cap than to triple cap, just because you know where they're going to be spawning. So whilst you're leading on points, you can also, you know, get them when they spawn and kind of spawn trap them to a certain extent. Obviously that's kind of kill whoring, but the only reason that I feel spawn trapping is a good idea in Domination, and I don't feel that same way about it in any other game type. But the only way, and obviously just defending the B flag there, but the only reason I feel it's a good idea in Domination is because you then can kind of just keep racking up the points, and if you've got all 3 capped, then they have a better chance of capping 1 or 2 flags from you, due to the fact that they can be spawning all around you, so you have a better chance of dying, and therefore they have a better chance of getting flags while you're incapacitated. So I feel it's better to just kind of get 2 flags and just kind of wait it out. As you can see, they kind of switch flags they'd been capturing, which is kind of weird. If they capture 1, then when you're double capping them, then bomb all the way down to the other, on the other side, to try and get it. So because then obviously the spawns will just flip like in team deathmatch, but in the sense it's Domination. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just staying at this point to try and defend B, and that was the most bullshit kind of death ever, but whatever, I'm willing to overlook it. The fact of the matter is, that guy was, obviously he was using Final Stand, but before I got killed by him, I was keeping a pretty good look at Overwatch on B. The only reason B is not very good on Mission, I think, is because it's in number 1, the highest choke point in the match, no matter whether it's Domination, and number 2, just for the pure fact that there are a lot of entrances into it, and so therefore it can get captured easily. So the thing I'd recommend for Mission, obviously, is to try and keep an Overwatch on B if possible. Now, that was really stupid by me, but luckily my teammate managed to get him. Now, obviously, I don't have that much gun skill. I'm not that skilled when it comes to shooting, so I like to try and obviously put myself in the positions where I have the most advantage over enemies, and I'd recommend that to anyone, really. Because, quite simply, if you have the advantage over enemies, gun skill doesn't become a factor. If you see them first and you have the same guns, then you're very likely to get the kill, no matter what your gun skill is, unless they're very skilled at moving around and evading your shots. So obviously that's what I'd recommend. Now, as for my perks, I'm using Extreme Conditioning Pro, Assassin Pro, and Stalker Pro. Now, I'd recommend these perks. Obviously, the third perk for me, it's a bit of a preference. It's whatever you prefer, really, in the third perk. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Dead Silence and or Sit Rep may be slightly more useful in this situation, but I just like to use Stalker purely because I feel it gives me the advantage in most gunfights, and which can come crucial when it comes to defending flags and choke points in the map. So that's the reason I use Stalker, because I feel it contributes the most to us winning the game. But obviously, put whatever you want on there. I sometimes use steady aim, like when I'm using the PP90, because I hip fire a lot with that gun. I use steady aim. Now, Assassin, I usually will use in objective game types, except for kill confirmed, in which case I'll use hardline. But if we win the previous game and the team and your opponents aren't that good, then and you're playing in a team, then generally I wouldn't use Assassin, but in all other cases, Assassin's pretty much the go-to perk in my opinion. So that's why I use that, and just because if you get spotted by like enemy UAVs, you'll be in a far worse position when it comes to defending the flags and defending the objectives, be it domination or any other objective game type. So that's why I try and avoid the usage of those, but other perks. But quick draw is always a good choice, as is hardline. So you know, whatever floats your boat really, it really doesn't matter. Now, as for first perk, Extreme Conditioning Pro, I would either always use this or always use Sleight of Hand Pro. Like, whichever one you prefer. Personally, I use Extreme Conditioning in Domination because I want to get to that B flag first. It's basically the first little charge for the B flag that's the main reason I use that perk. It's so key in keeping that kind of rhythm up and keeping that kind of flow that you need to get to that flag first, because obviously you'll catch enemies out and they won't be prepared for you if you're using Extreme Conditioning quite often, because they'll be using their ACRs and their Type 95s and setting up in positions near the objective. So if you can get behind them or get to that spot first even and catch them out, then obviously that's very advantageous to you, so I'd suggest that. Now, as for my kill streak layout for Domination, I use support or assault 99%, not 99, 90% of the time. So 9 out of 10 times I'll be using assault, and the reason for that is, and you saw right there by the way, they captured C, so I went right to A and captured it, because if you're the other side of the map when they capture C, then quite often you'll be in the best possible position to capture the other flag. So you know, it works both ways. So as I was saying, support package, I will use UAV, advanced UAV and EMP, just because those kill streaks tend to be the best for the team. Like, I only use assault when my entire team is using, or like someone else on my team is using support, so that we have those perks anyway. So that's when I'm feeling selfish. Most of the time I will use support in objective game types, just because it gives you that extra edge as a team. If the enemy's EMP, then they can't be using their heartbeat sensors, no UAVs, no kill streaks at all from them. So that's obviously a brilliant advantage to the EMP. As for the advanced UAV, you know exactly where they are. If they're capturing a flag or planting a bomb or something like that, you're right on them. And obviously the UAV is kind of a tool, is kind of number one, a tool for getting the higher kill streaks in your package, and obviously to help your teammates get higher kill streaks. And number two, a little bit of a kind of just, it does help also, but it's not on the same scale as the advanced UAV obviously, or the Blackbird from Black Ops, but it's still quite honestly a step ahead of like the ballistic vests or the sentry gun in terms of, I don't even know if sentry gun's on here, probably sand turret, but honestly it just helps a lot more than those, so that's why I'd use that. So obviously on most objective game types I would recommend the support package any day of the week, just purely for the fact that it helps the team so much more than any of your other strike packages. The one thing that I would recommend you do not do, if you want to use assault, then you can still help your team win quite a bit, but don't by any means, like genuinely do not use specialist. That is a killer for the team. If you want to kill whore and hog a load of kills, then use specialist. If not, then don't. But obviously capturing B there because the enemy got it. Just basically I'm going around trying to capture as many flags as possible whilst leaving one to the enemy, so that you kind of know where they're going to spawn and you know how they're going to play and come at you and from what side you need to defend. But as I was saying, specialist is a total killer. Like, if you genuinely, like, specialist is a really selfish strike package, and in team deathmatch I will probably use specialist like a fair amount of the time, just because once you do get all those perks you're such a killing machine. But the fact is, in team deathmatch it helps the team, and the points are the kills in team deathmatch. So if you're going to use specialist in domination, then unless you're with a team who are using support, then you're probably not going to be very popular. I'm not sure if any of my teammates were using specialist in this game, but I would like to think not, just because we were so effective in helping the team. And look at this, we're spawn trapped now, and I'm on my juiced, but we've basically won the game already, so, you know, I'll take it. But as I was saying, guys, I would honestly, if I do run into teammates who are using specialist in domination, and I know they're using it, and just generally not helping the team at all, then we have a much higher probability of losing. So if you want to win, don't use the specialist layout, and we win the game. So those are my tips to you guys. As I was saying, if you want to win domination matches, follow all this advice. The most important advice I can give you guys is to double cap them and not triple cap, because I see a lot of quite new players making that mistake. And obviously the bit about strike packages and tactics and where to run and where to watch is also helpful, but that is the biggest piece of advice I can give you. So this has been TPG. See you later, guys.